What's good, Wagering World? It's your boy Five Star in Vegas, broadcasting live as always from beautiful Summerlin, Nevada. In here with my co-host, my guy, the only Sacramento Kings fan that I know. What's good, Spread Astaire? How are you this morning?
Man, I'm excited to talk some football with you. It's championship weekend. We had a great weekend of football last weekend, and I expect that to continue. All four teams remaining, they got a lot of positive attributes. So,
But it's also getting a little sad because us as sports bettors, we're always looking for something on the board, and the board has got real thin. It's no more football, so football has one last Sunday of multiple games, and after that, we just got the Super Bowl, and then we're in hibernation again, waiting on it and longing for it again to come back around.
exactly. And I think it's tough this time of year. These lines are really sharp. We've had a full
Yes.
year of information, and there's not a lot of mistakes on the board. So, that's why I'm excited to talk to you. Sometimes you need someone right, that's been out there that played the game to find these edges because they're not huge edges like I'm finding in the NBA. Like in the NBA, when I'm running my model, I'll have 10 points off a total. That's a huge edge.
Wow.
That's an easy play, right? Just
Right.
hit play. It might win, it might lose, but right. I mean, I'm excited. I found an edge. I found something that's different. These
Yeah.
lines are doing really well here in the NFL. So we got to get these bets in early because the longer you wait, the tougher it is to beat.
Yeah, and the reason why is because these last four teams are probably the four most talented teams, I'd say, in the NFL. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I know that Buffalo had a rough weekend. I don't want to take too much away from them. It's so funny watching their fan base melt down,
Yeah, but
acting like it's the end of the
we've
world.
already been on this. We already knew this was headed here because the factors is this: Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow's just a better quarterback at this period than Josh Allen, and maybe than Josh Allen will ever be. It's a guy on I can't remember which sports talk show I was watching, but made a great comparison. Maybe it was Cowherd. They said that Joe and Mahomes are just like Brady and Manning were, and Allen's right on the outside looking in the same way Big Ben was, and they all have kind of like
Mhm.
the same traits. With Big Ben being the wild guy, and he won a little bit early before those guys got their feet cemented, and then after that he couldn't get in anymore just because of the efficiency. Mahomes and Burrow play at such a higher efficiency than Allen. Allen is still a guy who needs to be reined in, and he's really missing Brian Dayball. A lot of plays on third and less than five. He's throwing it up 20 yards in the snowstorm. Just isn't smart football. And those are plays that Mahomes and Burrow don't make. They make smart decisions. They keep the chains moving, and they understand there's nothing wrong with a check down.
Yeah, and I think we saw. I know he didn't have a good showing against the Eagles this week, but Brian Dable meant a lot to Josh Allen's development. And you talked
Yes.
about it last week. Maybe Ken Dorsey's a little too friendly, right?
Yeah. Way too
With
friendly.
them, I mean, sometimes you might need an older guy that there's being able to relate is good, but not being able to relate is good sometimes too because you have a business like relationship and it's just
Yeah,
all business and I'm keeping you on task and I've
that's
experienced a
right.
lot.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
right. And the respect level, it's a respect level that certain coaches hold from their experience. Dayball has been around the league. He was the OC at Alabama and won national championship. So it was a different type of respect level that I feel like Josh Allen held for him than he did for Ken Dorsey. So we'll see if McDermott makes a move or he stays pat because what McDermott doesn't understand is he's getting to the point now where if they have another year like this one, it won't be considered a success. Now he's set the bar so high in that area, and they're so hungry for a championship with all of their past debacles that they dealt with the Jim Kelly era. That I don't know if he keeps his job after next year if it ends the same way like this year with them having a really good regular season and losing in the playoffs in the first round.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't give up on McDermott yet. They got to figure this out. I saw a lot of Bills fans really upset. And it's just like these things happen, man. Your team's real close, so I'm not ready to write off this team. I mean, if Von Miller played, that could have been a different deal, right? I mean, the team made the right moves. Um,
Well, the thing is this, you have four teams left, and what's the common denominator? They all have offensive coaches as head coaches. And a lot of people are saying that that's the problem with the Bills is that McDermott is still not a guy who concentrates much on offense. He doesn't go in that room too much, and therefore it allows it where the inmates run the asylum on that side of the ball. He's more of a defensive guy, and we've seen in the past it's really, really hard for the defensive coordinators to be head coaches in the way that the league is now. It just seems like the offense, not only sells tickets but wins games now. It's no longer where it used to be where defense wins championships, just the way the rules are set up. So a lot of people are saying it's just the McDermott's approach is bad for Josh Allen because Josh Allen is pretty much out there by himself without Dayball because Dayball was just like an assistant head coach. So, he carries so much weight with the development of Josh Allen that they really missed him. So they're going to really need someone really strong in that room. They're going to have to go get a new quarterback coach. I doubt they move off Dorsey. They had a successful year offensively. What do you think about everything with him and Diggs? Did you see him and Diggs had a little? I think there was just some gamemanship stuff that happens within the game. Nothing big.
Yeah, I didn't think much of it at all.
Yeah,
It's
me
an
either.
emotional moment. These guys have been trying for this their whole lives. They've been dreaming of it,
Right.
right, since they're 5, 6 years old. The first time they remember watching the Super Bowl. These things happen, and I won't take too much away from it. I mean, when the season starts next year, I'm still thinking the Bills are going to be at the top of the betting odds, right? I mean, it's not like gloom and doom
I
there in
don't know.
Buffalo.
I don't know. They'll be at the top, but I don't know if there's. I think that after this season, Cincinnati gets a lot more respect from the Sharps than they've gotten in the past. We've been on them 2 straight years, but most of the Sharps didn't respect them. They didn't really realize the type of roster that those guys have because they don't have a lot of top draft picks on defense, but the defensive coordinator is outstanding. They just got great team chemistry. So I expect the Bengals and the Chiefs to be favored higher than them now. I think that it's kind of the words out on the Bills now. I don't think anyone's, which might be better for them. They won't be, as so much pressure on them this year with everything. Let's get off into the past and talk about those games last week, and we can chop it up a little bit more about these uh,
All right, sounds
guys and their
good.
future plays.
Yeah,
Hmm.
let's dive right in. We'll go in order. The first game
Okay.
was the Jaguars and the Chiefs.
Yep.
Um, kind of like how we expected, right? The Jaguars did keep it close. They put forth a respectable showing, but kind of like the NBA, it's going to take a little while for this team to get there. It was a lot to expect for this team to go to Kansas City and and beat a team with the pedigree and the resume of the Kansas City Chiefs. But I thought they did well, and they have to be excited about the season, especially after the slow start, right? And people were
Yeah.
worried about Trevor Lawrence. It's like he's solidified himself. He's moving in the right direction. Doug Peterson has showed, hey, I can do this here. It wasn't just because the GM gave me a bunch of good players. And I think that's
Hmm.
going to make them a more attractive option in the free agent market, right? So,
Right.
um, good things for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but, maybe a year or two too early for that franchise. And of course, the major story of the game was the injury to Patrick Mahomes. And I talked to you about this earlier before we started the show. I said, this is rough because I'm not really sure which Mahomes we're going to expect for this game. I think it makes it a little tougher to handicap. What were your takeaways from that game? Talk to me about the Jaguars season, what you expect from them next year. And then, of course, we have to talk about the Mahomes injury because that's the dark cloud kind of hanging over this championship game.
We were able to cash first of all in this game. We hit the under 53.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much the same game as it was the last time. Like we expected, a lot more low scoring than people expected. Better defenses than people give each team credit for. Um, Jacksonville has a bright future. They're missing one of my guys, Cam Robinson. He's real close to a family member of mine. Another guy that's out there Monroe, Louisiana area, just like Doug Peterson. He actually his dad. I know Cam's dad really well, uh, and they were missing him. He's their top offensive lineman. So when he comes back, they have their lockdown left tackle back, and that's one thing that's going to really help this team move forward is protecting Trevor Lawrence because Trevor Lawrence is the guy. They're just young, man. All they got to do is re-sign Evan Ingram, and they should be good and be right back in the same situation next year. I could see them definitely winning them AFC South. You can never go wrong with Doug Peterson. It's one of those relationships with him and the Eagles that it's rare that both sides, ended up, in a favorable position after divorce. The Eagles showed that they're a really great franchise and know how to hire coaches and know how to do personnel really well, and as they quickly reboot. And then you have Doug going over here starting a whole new thing. It's kind of more his thing now, not as much Howie Roseman's all over his back and telling him what to do. So I think that the future is really bright for Jacksonville. One of my favorite moments, probably the whole season, was when they clinched that game against the Chargers. They ran a play that I probably called from seventh grade through the 11th grade at least 100 times. 44 ISO, T 44 ISO, and it was just beautiful how Doug was able to dig back into a traditional play that we ran at Washita Parish High School for years, even when he was the quarterback back in the 80s, and was able to use it in today's football, and it was a great play as Etienne bounced it out, and that sealed that game, and what's got to be one of the most memorable games for those Jacksonville fans in history, with them with that great comeback against San Diego. And just a great effort that they showed at Kansas City. They never gave up, they never quit. We might have a different game if not for the fumble near the goal line by Etienne.
Mhm.
But just a great effort, and the future is really bright for Jacksonville, and Kansas City is still the standard. As far as in the high ankle sprain, Patrick Mahomes is one of the few guys. That's what makes him so special, and probably the greatest quarterback talent we've seen. He can play both ways. He can kill you with his feet, but he scrambles only to throw. He doesn't scramble to run unless he has to, but he has the speed and the elusiveness to do it. With his elusiveness and his scrambling ability gone, he still can sit in the pocket and pick you apart. And he's still smart enough and just sharp enough to get away just enough and create enough time. I think that even though he has a high ankle sprain, he's one of the few guys that it's not going to affect as much. And I think he'll still be very productive this week.
All right. So yeah, you don't think it's going to affect him too much, and I think that's the toughest thing for that game. But credit to the Jaguars. Can't wait to see what they do next season for a team and a fan base that's been struggling for a long time. Nice to see them moving in the right directions. Next game
Yes.
wasn't very fun, right?
I didn't
Um,
even watch it. I stopped watching it after halftime. I didn't watch
Oh,
it.
you might have made it longer than me. I had NBA bets on. I
Uh,
said, this is cool. I'll flip back over in the third, flip back in the third. It was the same story. And a great season for the Giants comes to an end. Another thing, similar to the Jaguars, when you've been struggling for a while, this is an okay result. You've achieved expectations. You got the team moving in the right direction. This Giants team just simply did not have the talent that the Eagles did. And, as good as a coach as we think that Brian Daboll is, that came home to roost on Saturday night. So, good season for the Giants. They're moving in the right direction. They've really got to augment this team. They got to nail some defensive draft picks, give these guys something to work with here. And then, of course, continue to develop that offense. Great season for the Giants, bitter ending, of course, but I think that speaks more to how good this Philadelphia Eagles team is. What did you see in the limited time you watched?
the Eagles came out on fire. I just don't understand why I feel for the fool's goal and Daniel Jones, knowing that everyone looks good against that Minnesota defense. Minnesota's defense is historically bad, and Daniel Jones, we thought made a lot of money against Minnesota, but he actually came right back down to earth the next week, and now he probably lost a lot of money against the Eagles, because I'm sure that front office for the Giants, who are very sound and who don't really make a lot of bad moves. I know that they're thinking like, hey, dude, how much do we really want to invest in this guy? We have to play the Eagles twice a year. He's not looked good in the games that he's faced them. Uh, we thought that he had turned the corner, but actuality it was just, like I said, how terrible the Vikings defense is. So does Dayball co-sign with Daniel Jones and leave him there? There's a lot of quarterbacks available right now. The Giants are a huge market, so if they made a play on Derek Carr, for instance, how good would Derek Carr be with that offense and with Dayball as his coach? So it's interesting to see if the Giants uh, decide to hitch their wagon to Daniel Jones these next few years. I know he's a free agent coming up, and I doubt that they franchise him. There's no way that they want to pay him like a top three quarterback in the league that average. So, um, a lot of things are gonna be going on in the summer, I think, in New York because Dayball gives me the type of guy who's wants to get better and is going to make the moves necessary to contend next year. Sirianni is a good coach, man. He's becoming a villain. He's just like Sean Payton did, like I said before, when he came to New Orleans, he kind of took on the personality of the city, and that's what Sirianni has done with Philly. He's came a long way from that first press conference when he was on there. People were talking about the way he spoke and everything. He's now beloved in that area. How could he not be? He's taken the tools that they've given him in the offseason, adding A.J. Brown, and he's helped develop Jalen Hurts into one of the best we've seen. And they look like the Eagles that looked all season. They had a small little down period, but for most of the season, the Eagles have been number one or number two in my power rankings because they've been great all season, starting in September. Just an unbelievable roster they've compiled over there. They have playmakers and all pros on both sides of the ball. And Jalen Hurts was the key to that team getting over the hump and becoming as dominant it is now because now they have a quarterback under a rookie contract. That's huge with being able to fill out a roster. That's why Sean Payton has been saying, um, I don't think he's going to even get a job this year. If he does, it'll probably be like the Texans. He wants to go somewhere where he can get a quarterback on a rookie deal so that he can have the roster that's needed. And he was speaking about how, if you notice that the teams, it's only one team that's paying their quarterback left, and that's Mahomes. We know Burrow's about to knock it out the park when he gets paid, but he's still right now under his rookie contract. So that's very important. And with Hurts being under that rookie contract, it has allowed the Eagles to uh, establish one of the best rosters in the NFL. And he's done a great job as a leader for them, man. And just kudos to the Eagles and their whole organization. Everyone thought it was just, lightning in the bottle that they won a few years back and beat the Patriots, but it seems now that Howie Roseman is just that guy. He's a great GM. He knows what he's doing, and he does a really good job with that team.
Yeah, kind of the catch-22, right? You need the elite quarterback to win, but you pay him too much and you can't put the right people around him. So we'll
Yeah,
be, of course, talking about that more in the offseason. Let's talk about what we thought was going to be the game of the year, right?
yeah,
We thought this was the must-see TV.
yeah,
Cincinnati Bengals look absolutely fantastic. They defeated the Buffalo Bills in what was really a stress-free cash. I mean, I don't know. I would at any point. I mean, just felt like even the money line was safe almost the whole game. The way the Cincinnati team played. So, of course, we talked about the Bills a little bit at the top. I'm not as doom and gloom on them as any other team, as some of the other people I've seen. Right, that I think are taking too much from a loss against one of the best players in the NFL in Joe Burrow. I still think the Bills have a great chance. They just need to make some small moves. But the Cincinnati Bengals are an absolutely fantastic team. And if you're a Cincinnati fan, you have to be excited about the direction of this franchise. For them to lose all those offensive linemen and not miss a beat, you got to give Joe Burrow credit, the wide receivers credit, the backup lineman credit, the coaching staff credit. That other teams could have crumbled in that situation. So great win by the Cincinnati Bengals.
it's what I expected from them. Joe Burrow was an awesome leader. I was speaking with some guys on Twitter about. It's like, where did this come from? Joe hit a switch. It all started with that Texas game, his final year in LSU. The year before, he was just a regular quarterback, but they also hadn't turned over the helm to him and really opened up the offense. They still were, a balanced team doing a bunch of running. They scored, I want to say 73 points, 77 points or something like that against Texas in a crazy game. After that, that was the legend of Joe Burrow began, and he's never looked back. He's been that player ever since that game, and led the best LSU team we've ever seen in a university that's had so many great teams and so many national champions. He had the best team probably in college football history over there, and he was the leader of that team, and he set the pace for them with his aggressive play, with his belief in self, and with his efficiency. And he's doing the same thing with the Bengals. A lot of people, I mean, Carson Palmer was trying to get him not to go to the Bengals because he hates the Bengals so much, and
Mhm.
Joe took that task straight on like a G, man. He everything he does is so stand up. And what a lot of people don't understand about Joe Burrow is he has a different view of the game, and Jalen Hurts as well. Their fathers are coaches. Jalen Hurts' dad is a high school coach and was the head coach for a long time in the Houston area. And Joe Burrow's dad coached on the college level. He was a one of the top defensive coordinators in college football. So they have a whole different lens at looking at the game. Their approaches are completely different than most of these people. And even Mahomes, with his father being an ex-professional player, I'm sure it helps his approach. They have an advantage on a lot of these guys, and that's why you're seeing the success you see. But um, Burrow and Zach Taylor, another match made in heaven. Got an offensive coach, Zach Taylor was a great quarterback in Nebraska, and now he gets a chance to do everything that he, dreamed of doing himself. Through his quarterback and Joe Burrow, and he called a hell of a game. I liked how quickly they were getting the ball out, getting it to their playmakers early. Um, like you said, they let the new lineman maul. They let them move forward, and when they did block, it was quick passes. They weren't making them sit in there and have to take the abuse of defensive linemen and pass block on 7 step drops or anything. And they played toward the weather, and that's what I was saying about how Sean McDermott, he has to really reconsider everything that he's doing right now because he goes into a game with no game plan in this game. You saw the Bengals had a clear, concise game plan. We're going to run Mixon. We're going to hit our star receivers on quick passes and get them one-on-one out in this weather with people, and we're not going to let Joe get hit, and we're going to play sound defense. Where the Bills were out there playing like it was September of the season. They throwing 60-yard bombs in the snow. Like the amount of deep passes that they threw in that weather was mind-boggling to me. You got receivers having to look back in the snow. You got the wind. Just wasn't a good performance at all. Josh Allen continues to struggle in these type of moments simply because even though he's a great talent, he's very emotional. And I compare him a lot to Cam Newton. I always say when I compare Josh Allen to Cam Newton, Josh Allen should be thrilled to be in the company of Cam Newton. I heard a lot of idiots talking about, oh, you can't compare Josh Allen to Cam Newton. Josh is way better. How the hell is Josh Allen better than Cam Newton? And Cam Newton was an NFL MVP, a Heisman Trophy winner, a national champion, first team quarterback NFL 2015, multiple time Pro Bowler. Only thing that Josh Allen has accomplished is the Pro Bowl. He's never been MVP. He's never reached the Super Bowl. He's never won anything in college. So for us to compare Josh Allen to Cam Newton is actually putting Josh Allen in some great, company. The reason why I really compare these two are the emotions and their style of play. Josh Allen, much like Cam Newton, is an aggressive quarterback that plays with a linebacker mentality. He's not afraid of contact. He likes to rough it up, run at people. But another thing that he does that Cam used to do that I don't like is Josh Allen gets into it way too much with the defense. Every time you tackle, man, you don't have to get up pushing guys and talking noise to them and getting guys all fired up on the defensive side. Like you're still a quarterback, man. People are going to hit you. And if you notice, he tried that mess with Cincinnati, and Cincinnati sent the blitz with Mike Hilton, their biggest hitter, at 185. And he had the video. We said, I'm going to put this whole 185 on him. And boy, did he ever. He lit him up. And after that, Allen stopped talking as much as he usually does at every game. It really hurt him. You could tell that that hit by Mike Hilton hurt him. But I just think Josh Allen is immense talent. I've been on the kids since Wyoming. I just really hope that one, he emotionally calms down. Don't get arrogant. Don't That's the same mistake that happened with Cam Newton and my homeboy Vince Young. They did the same exact thing that I'm seeing Josh start to veer into, and that's cocky. Being too cocky. Hey man, when you're on the field, show respect to the guys you're playing and be respectful to your teammates. Don't get off into, trying to always show guys you're so tough and pushing guys after a tackle. It's football. They tackled you, man. Get up, go back to the huddle, call your play. I want them to get more emotionally sound, and I also hope that they get him the correct quarterback coach over there. And if he does, I think that the Bills are going to be around for a while. They'll definitely move off McDermott before they ever move off Josh Allen. So I expect similar success for the Bills in the coming season. and I expect the Bengals to keep doing what they're doing. I think that Joe Burrow will have multiple Super Bowls before he retires.
One thing we do as bettors, we watch how the landscape and just perception changes because, of course, perception shapes the market. Two mistakes I think that people are making here with the Buffalo Bills. The first one is Josh Allen's the best quarterback in daily fantasy or fantasy, right? So people think he's the best quarterback. But at the end of the day, teams are not going to let you get those 10 to 13-yard runs in the playoffs. That can be stopped. The teams know how to stop the run at the highest level. Yeah, your Houston Texans or my Las Vegas Raiders might not be able to do it. But if you're in the conference, semifinals or the conference championship game, you can do it. So I think that we overrate a quarterback's ability to run, right? Because everyone thinks that Josh Allen's better than Joe Burrow because Josh Allen scores 30 fantasy points a game and Burrow only gets 20. But Burrow's sitting in the pocket throwing darts and he can lead his down the field. The second flaw that I think that people don't make when they're making these statistical, like, for example, what is the new stat that everybody loves? Expected points per attempt, right?
Right.
And a running play is negative in this. Okay, I make a basketball model, right? And it's successful, right? But let me look at my record here. I'm 127 and 95. That means I was wrong 95 times. You have to understand these models are great, but they're not perfect. And you're telling me that a run play doesn't add to your chance of winning? And the Buffalo Bills' inability to run the ball came home to roost. You can't have your quarterback be the only rushing attack. And during the year, Allen constantly bailed them out, right? And so they never had to address the issue, right? They never had to address the issue. And now, when it came time to it, your inability to run the ball, especially in cold weather, because you have to run the ball in the playoffs, right? I mean, these teams would be great if it was the original way football was played, right? When football was played before, 1950, the season ended on Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't play in the snow. That's when basketball season started. This is back, a long, long time ago. But that's how football was originally meant to be played. It's different now. You have to be able to run the ball. And I think the fact that Josh Allen consistently bailed them out without having a rushing attack, they weren't able to really develop that during the season. And then it came home to roost against the Bengals.
I think that's on Sean McDermott again because they have two good running backs. Singletary's a good running back and Cook. He allows Ken Dorsey to run that side of the ball, and he's not getting in the headset enough telling them, hey, man, run the ball. We need to run the ball. He's not going into the offensive room and telling them what's going to be the game plan for this week. I think he's just letting them handle it, and him and Leslie Frazier are putting together the defensive game plan, and that's the problem, and that's why they miss Dayball so much, and that's why a lot of people are questioning what kind of head coach Sean McDermott is going to be as far as in being able to really win the big games and win it all. Because if you think about it, he's doing everything that his mentor did when they went in 2015 when he was the DC at Carolina. It was the same mistakes that Rivera made with. You remember the Panthers didn't have that good of a running game. Jonathan Stewart was cool, but they ran Cam more than anybody. That's why he set the record that year for rushing touchdowns. He had 14, which now Jalen Hurts is tied for. But yeah, it's just the same approach, man, with the extreme usage, the Luka Doncic, James Harden style usage of the quarterback is not good. I'd much rather have the quarterback like Mahomes and Burrow are. They're both, and what's funny, they both come from playing point guard, so that helps. They both come from professional dad in Mahomes, a head coach dad in Burrow, and then they both played point guard in high school, and now they're distributors. They could be the star like a point guard supposed to be. I can make the shot when it's needed for the team, but I'd much rather get everybody involved, and that's what Josh Allen has to do a better job at. I didn't see him throw any check downs this season. Like he literally was every pass is down the field, and you can't win football that way. It just isn't efficient.
And I think this is an inefficiency in the betting market. The NFL is the sharpest market in the world, but one thing is the public is unduly influenced by fantasy. Listen to these breakdowns. They talk about the wide receivers, the running backs, and the quarterback.
Right, never the lineman. Never the line. Or that's where we come in because we're going to talk about the line and the schematics.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about the last game. The San Francisco 49ers had a close one against the Cowboys. I thought they might really stomp them. You told me the Cowboys were going to keep it close. You were absolutely right. The 49ers end up covering, right? But it could have gone either way. And the
Yeah.
funny thing was, I thought it was going to land on 4. Watching that fourth quarter, I was
It
laughing.
should
I
have
said,
landed on
this
4. It
game's going to
should have
land on
landed on
4. And
4.
if you got it at 3.5, you're a Niners fan, you're going to be happy. And if not, it's going to be the lesson of why you should try and get these numbers early. So,
Yeah.
what did you see from that game, though? Brock Purdy's first real test. San Francisco 49ers defense came through.
Brock Purdy has a 4-leaf clover inside of his his football ties because he keeps escaping these interceptions. Um, Diggs never drops interceptions. He let a major interception go right through his hands, and then the next play, the Niners end up scoring, and that's what really knocked us out the cover. The Cowboys were attached this whole game. If not for Dak, oh man, I had the first half. Ended up losing that first half money line, and I pushed on the +3 because Cowboys had the ball. They're in territory after the 2-minute warning, right before the half, and Dak forces another ball. I've looked over a lot of tape. As you saw, I retweeted one interception that he threw. Um, well, no, he didn't throw this interception. This was a play where they were talking about how great Fred Warner was and how deep he gets on when he does his trails, and he was trailing, and he fell back in that zone real deep, and he ended up getting a play that broke up a CD Lamb play. But the whole problem was this: Dak was never supposed to go to CD Lamb. He locks in on him right before the play and doesn't take his eyes off of him, doesn't move to safety. And I saw him do this on several plays. Dak, I don't know if he regressed or if he's always been like this because I haven't watched a lot of tape on Dak. I've always looked at Dak as a good guy, as a locker room guy, as a say the right things guy. He's a leader. People follow him, but his play is just pretty basic, man. He's really mediocre, and the Cowboys are going to have to consider moving off of Dak. Dak makes way too much money and is taking way too many snaps to make the mistakes that he's making. He's locking in on these receivers pre-snap and not moving off of them. Even if this is the guy you want to go to, you have to know the nuances of the game. Like Brady, like Mahomes, um, even Hurts has got to that point now where I'm gonna move the safety with my eyes if this is who I want to come back to. If I already know this is who I'm going to, I'm gonna at least move the safety. He's not moving the safeties at all, man. He's just dropping back, locked in on one guy and throwing the ball, and that's what's creating all of these tip balls and all these interceptions that he's throwing. Just another horrible performance from him. He's a modern day Danny White, man. He's just not that guy. He's not going to get them there. So, if Stephen Jones wants to get his dad a Super Bowl before he leaves this earth, they need to get in the quarterback market this offseason because Dak single-handedly lost that game, and he might have lost some of the locker room from the stuff that I heard from Michael Parsons and other Cowboy players. They didn't seem too happy with his performance. It's crazy. My comp for Jalen Hurts was Dak, and Jalen Hurts has far exceeded Dak as a player already in this short career.
Yeah, and money means a lot. Jalen Hurts doesn't have the expectations because the guys aren't walking around like you make more than our defensive line.
Right, right,
That has something to
right.
do with it, right? The
He's
defensive
more
line is out there
talented.
blowing.
He's more talented too, man. He's more talented than
I'm
Dak,
just saying a
man.
lot of this comes from I think that's even a reason why Brady never took those big contracts, right? He
Yeah,
said, "Hey, I want to be one of the guys. If I'm
right.
making 40 and the next highest guy on the team is 13,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
separated. If I'm making 21 and the next highest guy is 13, okay, I'm the leader of the team. I make a little bit more, right?
Right, right,
But
right.
hey, right? It's not like they know this is salary cap league. They ain't money for everybody. There's only a certain amount. If the quarterback gets 40, that's less for everybody else. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think this team made a mistake. I think that you hit it on the head. Jerry's old. And he said, I
Yeah.
don't want to go through developing another quarterback.
He
And
didn't
it could
want
have been
him.
short
I
sighted.
think it's Steven. I actually think it's Steven, G. And the reason why is because this. If you were every time uh, that Cooper Rush played well, Jerry Jones, they had to shut him up because he was preaching so hard that he wanted Cooper Rush to succeed because he knows that if they can pay the quarterback nothing, they can have a better roster. They're playing Dak extremely too much money, man. And now they're in a situation where are you going to move him to? You might can trick the Jets into picking them up. No, I'd go for it if
The
I was them.
contract
I'd
makes
try
him untradeable. The contract, you can't
the
pay 40
contract
million
makes
to a
them
guy that's
untrade.
not named Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, right? I mean,
I see the Cowboys going off a cliff next year, man. They've won 12 games, 2 straight years. Dan Quinn will be gone next year. He will not be there anymore. He will be a head coach somewhere next year. I'm thinking probably Denver. And Dan Quinn is the only thing that's keeping that team afloat right now because his defense is outstanding, and the way he coaches defense, and he's finally gotten his principles in. He has the guys in, and they're flying around. And they're playing Dan Quinn style football on the defensive side. McCarthy has done a good job. He's not done a bad job at all. He can't be the quarterback. He does a good job of keeping the team loose. And one thing we can say about the Cowboys, they did look prepared against the Niners. They weren't just out there, and they looked prepared last year in the playoffs. He's won a Super Bowl. Mike McCarthy, he's, a lot of people laugh at him because the way he looks and the way he speaks and stuff. But Mike McCarthy is a Pittsburgh guy from a family of police officers. He's a tough dude. He just, he does things a little bit different, but he's a good coach. Dak is going to be the problem. You got Dak. Zeke Elliott is under this big contract, and Zeke is pretty much just a glorified short down back right now. So they made some horrible decisions out of, what Jerry does. He's loyal. I know Dez Bryant. He always spoke really highly about Jerry Jones. You see how Michael Irvin is about him. If you're in a club with Jerry, he loves you, and he's going to take care of you. So he's one of the best owners to play for from that aspect. He's a loyal dude, but as far as in running the team, especially in the way that things have to be ran in 2023, it's getting them in a lot of cap problems and a lot of trouble, man. And I just really feel like the Cowboys are in purgatory, man. They can't get any better. So the only thing they're gonna do is get worse, man. Because uh, if Dak hasn't gotten it by now, I don't see him ever getting it, man. He should be in the prime of his career right now. He's moving better after that injury, that lower leg injury. He had two different lower leg injuries. He seemed like he's moving better, but regardless of what from the pocket, he's not working correctly from the pocket. Whatever he needs to do to get better, he needs to do it in a hurry. And it's almost as if, and I hate to say it, but it's like he's scared. And the reason I say that is because when you're doing things like he's doing at this level, that's some stuff you do in ninth grade at quarterback, man, where you locked in on one receiver and dropping back, and I don't care what the covers, I'm just throwing it to him. You do that from fear, You don't do that if you're comfortable. You're gonna go through your reads. I've seen Dak get through reads before, so for
that
some reason,
happens when you get hurt.
yeah, yeah,
I know it from a guy that I root for, Derek
yeah,
Carr. He's
yeah,
not the same guy after 26, 20, whatever years, 2016, 2017. First two
yeah,
years, I thought we were going to have a top 5 QB. He was
right,
throwing in there doing darts, and then he had that leg injury, and he was never. He got happy feet. He didn't have them when he came in the league. He didn't have them
yeah,
at Fresno State. He took that
nah,
huge injury, and he wasn't the same guy. And I wonder how much that has to do with it. And I agree with you on Dak. I think it's a problem, but like I said, I think the big problem is just the salary because you can't build around him.
yeah,
And it's just when you overpay someone in the NFL, the salary cap is so tight. There's so much talent in the league. These teams are so close to begin with, right? We see how much during the week our covers come down to last plays or crazy fumbles, like, even the Jaguars, right? Pretty lucky
yeah,
to get the win over the Cowboys, pretty lucky to get the win over the Chargers. We're not taking away from anything from them, but we're saying these results can be very different. They hinge on very small things.
yeah,
So when the margin is that close and you're giving away that much salary, and you mentioned to the two guys, you overpaid your running back, and he's not even the best running back on your team, and everybody knows it.
yeah.
Everybody knows. If we know it, you don't think the locker room and the offensive lineman knows it? Why are we blocking for this guy? He can't break one. Hey,
No,
on
they
32
love
minutes.
they love Pollard. They love, but
Yeah,
now what is that? A broken ankle he had?
that was nasty, huh? And were you the one who said, "Hey, this is just like
That's
a
a
Royce
dirty
Dollar"?
tackle, man. That's a dirty tackle. And guys
Yeah,
like, oh, he's just doing what he could do. No, me and you watch football spread. These defenders have came up with this tactic, and they know against certain players who are really good. It's if they don't hurt you on that play, they're trying to get in your head. They use that same tackle against Mahomes. That's
yeah,
why he got hurt. Arden Key used the same tackle. What they do is You hit them high, and then you allow your weight to collapse. It's kind of like calf wrestling. Like we call it calf wrestling tackle. You know, when
Yeah.
people wrestling calves, you get the top, and then you fall on the back of their legs to get them down. That tackle needs to be outlawed, man. It needs to be outlawed. They shouldn't be allowing these guys to do that because any football player will tell you, man, hit me in the head, hit me in the chest, hit me wherever. Don't take my legs from me, man. You know, and I hate to see that happen to Pollard, man, because he's a really good running back.
Yeah, that was definitely disappointing. So, anything more on the Cowboys, or should we move to the present?
No, man, let's get to the present.
All right. Of course, we are going to give you those NFL wins. Hey, we thought it was going to be a short show today. We should have known. But hey, before we give you the NFL winners, we're going to talk about a couple games that are on TNT tonight. Of course, we're going to talk about the New York Knicks, who are in Boston. Boston's laying 8.5. That's an interesting game here. If I start when we talk, I hadn't really dug in when we talked on the phone before we jumped on. And we thought, originally I was like, yeah, with you. Like, yeah, that line's pretty high. Now I'm looking and I see why the money moved that way. The New York Knicks are 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 games. Even though they were playing well, they're actually 1-4 straight up in their last 5. They're 2-4 against their spread in their last 6 against Boston. So this is a tough matchup for them. Boston's 9-2 over their last 11 games. They keep winning no matter who's in and out of the lineup. I know they had that one stretch where they struggled. They seem to be back on track, unless they're playing the Orlando Magic, who has the Boston Celtics numbers. So
Have the
wouldn't that be a
number.
fun first round series, right? Just with the kind of
Yeah.
history that those two teams are building. So, originally, when we talked, I hadn't run my numbers yet. I'm thinking, yeah, I'll probably end up being on, this Knicks team to cover the spread. My projections actually had this at I think an 11-point game for Boston. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to get involved. Yeah, I have Boston winning by 11, and I have this game going under. I don't know if I'm going to bet either of them, but it definitely should be an interesting game to watch because we know, as many of these statistics I've given, when you're on national TV and you're playing against the best team in the NBA, sometimes you get a better performance, right? It's a
Yeah.
little different than playing the Detroit Pistons, on League Pass or going to Charlotte, right? I mean,
Right.
this is a big game. So let's see if the Knicks are able to raise their level of play. So I lean towards Boston. I lean towards the under, but I don't have a play in this one. I have a play in our next game. But what are your thoughts on the Knicks and the Pistons, and what have you seen from these two teams?
I agree with you. I think Boston separates at the end, but if we notice, the Knicks always start pretty fast. They usually play well in the first half and then fall off after halftime. So I think that the first half +5 with the Knicks is probably a peak for me. I'd probably look at that one. But for the game, I actually like Boston to cover as the game goes on, -8.5. The Celtics are coming off 2 losses, so they should be pretty focused for this game. You know how they are when they go back home and they lost 2 on the road. Jason Tatum is a really proud dude. I'd also look for Tatum to go over the points. It's a nationally televised game. We know he wants the MVP this season. We know also this is the day the unfortunate passing of Kobe Bryant. So, that's his mentor, and that was who he looked for. That was his idol. So I think that Jason Tatum goes ham tonight. So go over 30.5 on Jason Tatum for sure.
All right, so you like the over there, and I don't know. I might end up getting involved. I'm going to do the NBA rundown with the Run Pure guys a little later. Sometimes they're able to talk me into some plays, so look into that one a little more. But if I lay off it, I'm completely fine. 8.5 is a kind of a nice number for the books to set when they don't want
Hmm.
action on a game.
Right.
we don't want a big handle on this game. Let's make it pretty high, so the season bettors are going to be hesitant to lay it, and we'll see how that goes there. The next game I'm pretty excited about. Now it's going to be my ball and parlay. So I'll
Okay.
skip my breakdown, but I want to see what you're talking about with the Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns. Just the things that I'll say. I mean, spoiler alert, I'm going to end up taking the Suns. They've been so much better with Cam Johnson back in the lineup. Chris
Yep.
Paul's back as well. And I think that really it just shows how important wings are in this league. This is a great game because it's a renewal of the rivalry that essentially started last season in that semifinal playoff affair where it wasn't just basketball. There was talking going on as
Yeah.
well. So these teams don't like each other, and it should be a fun game. I'm looking forward to watching this one tonight. Mavericks are in Phoenix. What are your thoughts?
Mavericks are 3-7 in their last 10. I don't know what's happening over there. I don't know if Kid and Luca are having some issues with each other, but the Mavericks, they aren't playing well, and to get the Suns' attention, all you got to do is pull up with Luca. The Suns hate Luca. Luca hates the Suns, so I'm sure Luca have his numbers and do his thing, but I think the Suns are just a better team, and they're starting to hit their stride. I got Chris Paul back, and even though he isn't the player that he used to be, he's the captain of that team. He's the quarterback of that team. As you said, Cam Johnson is huge, one of the best 3-and-D guys in the league. You got him and Mikal Bridges. They're gonna always play ball together because you got two lengthy guys who can knock down a three and who can switch to so many different positions and play sound defense. So I think the Suns handle the Mavericks tonight.
Yep. So we're going to be on the same side there. I'll go into a little more during the ball and parlay. Let's to the football.
Yes,
So what
sir.
everyone wants to hear us break down. The Niners and the Eagles are going to be first, right?
Yeah.
So hey, that's lucky for the Niners. The Eagles fans only have 9 hours to get drunk before the game instead of 12. It's going to be rowdy there in Lincoln Financial Stadium. The 49ers, how long can they continue this run? How are you looking at this game?
The Niners have not been on the road. Um, they've only had in the last 2 months or so, um, three road games. Well, four. They had four. One and three of them might as well have been home games. One, they went to Mexico City and faced Arizona, de facto home game. It was Niners fans everywhere. They went to SoFi in LA, Niners fans everywhere. They took over the stadium, not a big home field advantage for the Rams. They go to Legion Stadium here in Vegas, 49ers fans galore, not a big advantage playing against the Raiders. They took over their stadium as well. Only true road game they had was Seattle. Seattle is a divisional foe, so they're very familiar with going there. They don't go to Philly a lot. They went there last year and won a tough game, but they had Jimmy G as the quarterback, the veteran who was able to make just enough plays to squeak by an Eagles team that was preparing for this year because the team was still young last year. They hadn't added the weapons that they had on offense, and they were, just in those stages of sitting around and putting in his formula. I think this game is going to be a blowout. I think that the Eagles are going to get on the Niners early, and after that, it's going to make where Brock Purdy has to throw the ball, and I think he's going to turn the ball over. I think all of those near interceptions that he's thrown this week, they actually become picks. He's going to have pressure on them this week, like he's never had before from one of the best defensive lines. Hassan Reddick is a beast. Every level of the Eagles defense is outstanding, from defense of linemen to the linebackers, outstanding corners and Slay. And then my guy that I'm so pissed that the Saints got rid of, CJ Gardner Johnson is that guy. He's back and he's healthy, and I expect him to pick Purdy at least once. That's a good prop to pick with CJ Gardner Johnson have an interception. I'd go with the yes on that one. I think that the Eagles have to slow down the Niners' run game. We know that. The Eagles are number one against the pass. Kyle Shanahan is a great coach, just like his father was. He's going to come out with an early game plan. He scripts his first 15 plays. And if those 15 plays are successful and the Niners are able to score early and turn this into a game where, um, the Eagles are playing from behind, then the Niners could very much pull the upset. But I don't think it goes that way simply because the Eagles all season have been the best first half team in the NFL. They average the most points. They have the highest point margin differential in the NFL in the first half. They start fast, and Sirianni comes out with some great plays. That offense gets to rolling early, and they usually march down the field in the first quarter and get a touchdown. So I think that the Eagles jump on the Niners early, and after that, it's kind of snowballs because I don't think the Niners are equipped to come back with having a rookie quarterback. I think that Brock Purdy's best days are ahead of him, but this is just one of those moments in time where it's not his time. He's a rookie quarterback. He's not going to the Super Bowl as a rookie quarterback. We've never seen that before. So, and I don't think we will again. Just like Sean King and other guys who came before him, who came out of nowhere and were rookies and got to the championship game for their conference, and none of them got there. And I don't think that Brock Purdy does either. I'll give out the game in the ball and parlay the way I expect to bet it. But one of the things that I do want you guys to look at from this game also is the prop. Jalen Hurts scores a touchdown. It's at plus 130. That's a really good number. And the reason why I think it's so important is if Jalen Hurts scores a rushing touchdown, he breaks Cam Newton's single season quarterback rushing record. And you can believe that the locker room knows this, and they're going to want to do it for that guy because yeah, he's a leader of that team, and everyone loves him and plays hard for him.
Yeah, I going into that game last week, the biggest question around the Eagles was the health of Jalen Hurts. When he looks 100% healthy, you move this team right back to where they were in the power rankings. And hey, maybe we're over relying on our priors here, but I had the Eagles ahead of the Niners all year, right?
Yeah,
And I love Jimmy G, but even with Jimmy G in there, I thought this was the better team.
yeah,
And it's the first time the Niners might not have the best defense on the field. Now I'm not gonna the Eagles are definitely a better defense, right? But these are comparable units. It's not the huge
yep,
edge that they've had almost every single week, and they got
that's
a good
right.
win over the Cowboys. But I think that we can safely say, the Eagles are a much better team than the Dallas Cowboys are. Really, at every facet of the game, right? They're as good as the Cowboys defense was, the Eagles have a better defense. As good
Yeah,
as the Cowboys offensive line was, the Eagles have a little better offensive line, especially now that they're all fully healthy. And I kind of like the skill players here for the Eagles just a little bit more. And, it might just be a slight edge, right? Because CD Lamb is a great player. I like A.J. Brown just a little bit more, right? I like
yeah,
Devontae Smith as a number 2 just a little bit more, right?
yeah.
So I really like the Eagles here. And, it's been tough for me. I told you, obviously, Northern California, a lot of guys at work know I do this. Oh, you like the 49ers this weekend? You like the 49ers this weekend? Well, I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one.
Right, right, right.
So,
Yeah. Nah, it'll
so
be
yeah,
it's a Eagles coronation this week, I believe.
yeah, and so hey, and they deserve it with what they've done for the whole regular season. So let's talk about man, this is going to be a lot of fun though. The neutral site wasn't needed, right? So take away all that controversy. They'll
Right.
still be playing in Arrowhead Stadium, where they seem to play every single conference championship game since Patrick Mahomes became quarterback. And the Chiefs are now -1 at Cincinnati. This line's been moving back and forth. To be fair, it's been moving through 0, so there's not the same line moves as from moving from 2.5 to 4.5, from moving from 6 to 8, right? So the books are quicker to move those numbers, but it's bouncing back and forth, and it's really been based off of our practice reports for Patrick Mahomes. So what do you think here when the Bengals take the Chiefs? I mean, kind of have an idea because we've been on the Bengals all year, but specifically for this game, how are you seeing it?
This one right here was another one that we have the future ticket we're going to talk about a little bit later when we get to the future. I got a hedge, but I don't know when I'm going to jump in. But I can't go against my Bengals. I mean, the Bengals have been our bet the last 2 seasons, and they've never let us down. They're the best team against the spread in the league. The last 2 seasons, they're 8-1-1 in their last 10 games, and they've won 10 straight. I mean, what is it to say more than that they've been the best team in football since about November 6th? And you got Kansas City; they've been winning as well. They're 9-1 in their last 10. Their only loss coming to Cincinnati at Cincinnati in a close one, 24-27. But the thing is with um, the Kansas City, they never cover, and we already know how this works. Good teams win, great teams cover. Do you know that the Chiefs are now 2-7-1 in their last 10 games against the spread? So I don't know how you got the high ankle sprain unless the referees get involved in this game and make some scrupulous calls. I just don't see how the Bengals lose this game. Not with a banged up Mahomes, not with a depleted um, Kansas City team. This isn't the Kansas City team that the Bengals even beat last year with Tyreek Hill streaking, down the field and opening up things for Kelsey. Their receivers have not shown to be trustworthy. So I think that the Bengals defensive coordinator is so sharp that he's going to figure out a way to slow down Kelsey and he's going to make it where this turns to a game where Patrick Mahomes has to go to those unreliable receivers, and we'll see if Juju Smith-Schuster comes up big. We'll see if Vantez Scanling comes up big. We'll see if Sky Moore comes up big. But none of those names scare me, and I'm sure it doesn't scare the Bengals. I just feel like Cincinnati's on a quest right now. Cincinnati and Philadelphia will be one hell of a Super Bowl. Man, that'll be a good one. That would be a hard one to call, actually. And I just think that those two on a collision course to meet each other because they've been the two best teams in their conference pretty much all season. The Bengals got a slow start, but after they hit gear, they haven't looked back since. And I'm just a big fan of everything that Zach Taylor's doing over there with Cincinnati. They have so many weapons, and it goes past Jamar Chase. It goes past T. Higgins. You still got Tyler Boyd. You still have Hayden Hurst at tight end. Even their running game, you can hit you with Mixon, or they can go with Samaje Perine, and both of them run really hard. Um, as long as they can keep the O line together and let the O line make more plays, because they will be facing one of the more underrated defensives in the league that can wreck a game plan with Chris Jones. Chris Jones is that type of player where he can, if he's on his game and they're not taking care of their business, he can destroy the whole Bengals game plan. So um, they have to control Chris Jones, but if they do that and their linemen are able to maintain and are able to keep Joe pretty clean, I just don't see how the Bengals lose this game, man. And like I said, I had a plus 900, so I'm already in a good position. I don't know how much I'll be betting on them. I will be betting a couple props, though, on this game. I think that Pacheco, the running back for Kansas City, goes over 47 and a half yards rushing. He's averaged about 55. He's the bell cow for the team right now. No other back is getting near about the carries that he's getting. So I really do like Pacheco over 47 and a half because I think that Eric Bieniemy, along with Andy Reid, choose to try to keep the ball away from the Bengals' explosive offense and try to, grind out some long drives, and that begins and ends with Pacheco. And I also like Joe Burrow to go under 280 yards because the same game plan that Kansas City is going to incorporate, I think, will be the Bengals too. You got two of the best quarterbacks, if not one and two, in the league. I think that both offenses will be attempting to control the ball and keep the ball away from the other offense. So I like for Joe Burrow to go under 280 yards. He doesn't have to. They don't get into um, these type of games where shootouts. Most of the time it's them playing sound ball and Joe being very efficient with the ball and them mixing in the run and the pass really well. So I like Joe Burrow under 280 yards passing, and I like Pacheco to go over 47 and a half yards rushing.
All right, a couple extra props. Let's talk about the future. My future died to my favorite player. Ostapenko took out Coco Gauff. Coco
Yeah.
Gauff was pretty emotional after that match, but it's good to see a player care so much, and I saw such high hopes for the future. But your Sabalenka to win the Australian Open is still alive. I'm actually watching a replay of her right now. She took out Magda Linette, and she faces a
Yeah.
tough task against Elena Rybakina. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Rybakina win. I think maybe a little hedge is in order, but how are you approaching that?
I would definitely hedging it. I've won a lot of money with Rabakina over the years. She's one of my favorite girls to bet. Did really well with her at Wimbledon when she upset Halep. That was one of my biggest bets I hit all season this last summer. So she's now a Grand Slam champion. She has experience. Sabalenka has beaten her 3 or 4 times, but the last time Rabakina did win in three, Sabs has just been on fire. She hasn't lost a set this whole tournament. Um, and as I expected, it's because the hard court, she's been one of the best hard court players the last 5 years. And as we've said many times before, Sabalenka is one of my top girls that I like. She's one of my favorite female tennis players. And it's because I've always liked her aggression and her hitting ability and her strokes. And I think that she can blow anybody off the court, even Rybakina, if she can get, past her serving roles that sometimes come back and haunt her. I think that in the rally, she still will have the advantage on Rybakina, even though Rybakina is pretty good from the baseline as well. Um, I think Sabalenka does it. Don't get me wrong. I got 750 on it. So since I got plus 750, I most likely will be taking uh, Rabakina in before the match because it's plus 115 now. So I'll see if it goes up a nickel to plus 120. I'll wait a little bit and try to get a better number. But if it stays right there and goes down like a nickel to like 110, I'm gonna hurry up and jump on it because if Sav wins the first set, I'll never be able to catch up again. So
Exactly.
um, yeah, I'll definitely be hedging that one. And so we got that one looking really good with her on the verge of maybe winning her first major. And then also we got the Bengals, man. We told you guys the week before they played Kansas City, back December 2nd. I still remember the show, to jump on the Bengals, plus 900. I couldn't believe that number was still sitting there because when you broke down the AFC, they only had to get through Buffalo and Kansas City, and they'd had success against both those teams. And so we were able to win. We got the plus 900 and we got the plus 1600 to win the Super Bowl. So I'm sitting in a really good position there as well. And um, I actually put a little bit on the Chiefs plus 2.5 when the number ran up, but now it's ran back to like a pick 'em again. But I didn't put much, just pretty much what I invested um, in the Bengals. So I'm already good on that, regardless of what. The least that I could do is get my money back, but I might look in game if the Bengals jump ahead early and try to find a hedge. But in some really good position. That's why we tell you guys when we're doing these futures, we're not just throwing them out there, man. These are stocks that you're investing in, and hopefully you guys watched the show and got in with us on these futures, and now you're in a really good position to hedge them. We call them now they're hedgeable. So that's my little term for eligible to be hedged. So they're hedgeable. We got two hedgeable tickets right now with Sabalenka in the championship, and we got plus 750, and she's favored, and then we got the Bengals, they're favored, and they're plus 900 to win the conference.
So my position is I'm going to hedge. I think Rebbe Keenan's got a good chance to win this match. So I definitely want
Yeah,
to make sure we get some profit there. I'm letting
yeah,
that
for sure.
Bengals ticket ride, man.
You're gonna let it ride?
I probably won't if they win this and it's a Super Bowl. I'll probably get the
Yeah,
hedge then, but
right.
I'm feeling pretty confident for this matchup this week.
Yeah,
So,
I am too. I
so
am
I'm
too.
I'm
Honestly,
I'm only
yeah,
making one hedge this week, and there might be a hedge coming for me when we talk Super Bowl, and hopefully that's the position we're looking at. So. We got more
beautiful.
winners though. Let's give these people the ball and parlay. Why don't you start us off?
All right, man. Let's go first. I'm gonna go with the hard course tonight. We got some college basketball. You guys know how I love college basketball. We got Michigan State at home. I think the line makers threw up a bad number on this one, man. We got the Sparty, and they're gonna be entertaining Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa is not a good road team, guys. And I would take Michigan State honestly at Iowa right now, but especially at home. Michigan State is really battle tested. They played a lot of uh, top tier games since the beginning of the year, starting with their upset of at the end time Gonzaga #1. They're 8-2 at home, 7-3 against the spread. You got Iowa, man. They're 2-3 on the road this year. Not good against the spread. They just aren't the same without Luka Garza, in my opinion. Luka Garza was the one that put them over the top because Iowa's going to always struggle with talent levels. They do have your boy Murray. You know, his twin is still at Iowa, Chris Murray. So he's a good player, but he's nothing like his brother. He hasn't reached his brother's level yet. As you see, with him being all rookie, going to be a first team all rookie player. Keegan's a baller. But Chris is up and coming. He's not as good as Keegan, but he's a sound player for Iowa. But I just think this line is all the way wrong. So I'll be on Michigan State money line for this game at minus 140, and I'll also lay the -2. I think that they get both of them done when they start to foul. I honestly don't think it's going to be a close game. And then, as I said earlier, I love the Eagles early, man. This is the first true road experience for Brock Purdy. I know the kid has ice in his veins and he's a cool customer and all, but he hasn't faced the type of atmosphere he's going to face in Philadelphia or the type of defense that he's faced. We're going to have Slay back there and Gardner Johnson. They're going to make it real tough on that kid. That pass rush, if they can shut down the run and put everything on Purdy, I think it's going to be a lot of problems. I think the Eagles come out early, hot, just like they've done all season. They've been the top scoring team in the whole league. So I'm going to have to ride with the Eagles first half. And also, guys, I'm going to be on the Bengals first half plus a half point as well, too, just to throw that out there so you guys know. So that'll be 3 for me. Michigan State, Spartans tonight, money line, Eagles first half, money line, and the Bengals first half plus a half point.
All right, and I'm going back to that NBA game tonight. I already told you where I'm going, but the Phoenix Suns at home against the Dallas Mavericks. Phoenix has been playing a lot better since Cam Johnson returned to the lineup. 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games. 4-1 straight up. Dallas, on the other end, 1-5 in their last 6 games and 1-5 straight up. So this Dallas Mavericks team is struggling, and is it because Christian Wood's out of the lineup? Now, as a guy that wasn't that high on Christian Wood, hey, maybe I'll take my L here. Obviously,
Right.
He means a lot for that team. But I also would say that it's a cluster because it's Wood and Kleba being out. So you're missing, 2 of your bigger guys on a team that's already small to begin with. So, hey, I know there's going to be a lot of emotions in this tonight, but Phoenix is playing well now. They have, one of their most important players back, their wing in Cam Johnson, and we see Chris Paul back running that offense. Now, we know that Chris Paul has declined a little bit this season, but it was another cluster situation where Cam Payne, Landry Shamet, and Chris Paul were all at the same time. So, of course, Phoenix was doing terribly. Now he's back. This team's just trying to tread water until Devin Booker gets back, but I think they have an excellent matchup. They've been playing much better as of late as they're starting to get healthy. And remember, this is a team that had the best record in the NBA last season. They've been an excellent regular season team, and as well as an excellent home team. Dallas, not very good on the road either. 8-15 straight up this year. It's a tough situation here for the Mavericks. Their home road splits are really bad, so I wasn't surprised when punching in the numbers today. This was my biggest edge on the board. I'm taking the Suns -1.5.
Yeah, I liked it a lot, man. We're gonna go 3-0, and with the bonus that I just gave out, it'll be 4-0. So let's go 4-0 on the Ball and Parlay, guys. We appreciate you guys tuning in. It's that time of the year, man, where we put in all this work, and now it's time to reap the rewards. We hope you guys have been riding with us on these future bets because we're in some really good positions right now. As we get into the basketball season in a couple of weeks, we're going to start doing our daily show again, where we only come on for a quick 15 minutes to give you the play for the basketball today, a quick breakdown, and on to the next day, man. Anything for the people before we get out of the spread?
No, I'm looking forward to an exciting weekend of football and cashing these tickets.
Okay, and you guys look for the merch. As you see right here, we got the live from Summerlin cap. We got the merch that's going to be coming out. You guys look for it on the bottom of the YouTube, and also we'll be selling it on BakedGSS.com. So if you guys want to get some of the Wagering World merch, live from Summerlin caps and things like that, you guys look for it. It's coming real soon. It'll be attached to the bottom of the YouTube channel. You guys please like this. As we said before, we don't get any money on this. We're trying to get the algorithm up so more people can see and hear this show, because we're giving out a lot of really good information, and we hope you guys are cashing with us. Best of luck to you all this week, and we'll talk to you again next week.